everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Supercars. Now I was going to make a video later, or a pod later in the week for some news, but some breaking news last night, well, some potential big news, looks to be on the way, as V8 Sleuth has posted an article reporting that Will Brown is likely to replace Shane Van Gisbergen at Red Bull next year, if he does end up leaving at the end of this year, which is huge and completely unexpected. But let's get into it. So the article mentions a quote. I was looking through V8 Sleuth last night, and the article mentions a quote from Roland Dane, which is from News Corp, which was released last week, and he quoted, "You never know who might come out of the woodwork, who not necessarily Triple Eight want to buy out of the contract, but maybe a driver wants to buy himself out of the contract," end quote. This quote's very interesting, and I'm not too sure how much involvement Dane actually has still in the team, or how much he stays in contact with them. I'd say, considering he used to own it, he's heavily into it still. But it does cheekily hint at Brown being the choice to replace him. Now, I say that because Will actually has a contract with Erebus, which is meant to last till the end of next year. Which, of course, if he does end up moving to AAA, it will break his current contract. Now, no team has made an official statement regarding the move, as I'm pretty sure Shane Van Gisbergen is actually still waiting for his full-time NASCAR deal to be set in stone. And I reckon both his turn in the Truck Series and Cup Series this weekend will have a major effect on whether that will go ahead or not. And I reckon I can sort of see this being the deal being announced on the Monday after, if he does do well, because it reminds me very much of Scott McLaughlin when he went to race in St. Pete in IndyCar in 2020, where he actually announced that he wasn't coming back that weekend. So I can sort of see a very similar thing happening with Shane, I reckon, if he does well this weekend, which I think no doubt he will, at least on the road course. But I'm very curious to see how well he does on an oval. Of course, he'll be racing the oval in the Truck Series, so very curious to see how he'll go there. In honesty, though, I'm also surprised that Brown is moving to AAA over in general. Not only because Erebus is actually currently leading the team in Drivers' Championship at the moment, with Will being second behind Brody. But also, for some reason, I always just thought Chaz would be the one to be in Triple Eight next, or Cam Waters. I never thought of Will. No offense to Will or anything, because he's a great driver. I was not expecting Will to be the one to take that seat. But in saying that also begs the question: who will be at Erebus next year if that happens? Now, it could either potentially maybe be Nick Percat, who has also been hinted at leaving Walkinshaw at the end of the year, or it could even, even be David Reynolds, who's also hinted at leaving Penrite as well. Of course, Erebus, he used to be at Erebus. He signed that big 10-year contract and then decided to not go ahead with it after, I think, a year or two in it. Which is where he moved to where he is now at Grove Racing. It'd be cool to see him go back to his former team, especially after the success they've had this year. But speaking of silly shenanigans, Gary Jacobson has hinted at looking at returning to a full-time deal in Supercars. Now, of course, he was with Premier Racing last year, but only to be replaced by James Golding halfway through, I think after Darwin. Or was it during Darwin? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was after Darwin. Now, he is co-driving with Thomas Randall this year, but besides from that, he's had a fairly low profile since he left the sport. And he has stated, though, that if it was financially possible, he would have considered racing in Super 2 this year, just to prepare for the Enduros. But also, the cars are very different as well from, of course, Super 2 has the ZB and the Gen 2 Mustang, but so they're two very different cars compared to this year's. So if anything, it'll probably just give him the feel of racing again and racing a supercar. But it wouldn't really help him too much with Gen 3. But who knows? He might even be, because he hasn't ruled out a 2024 seat. So maybe he might be in talks with Erebus as well. So who knows? It's going to be very interesting in these coming weeks to see how that all unfolds. But realistically, if I had to, in my opinion, I reckon I could easily see maybe Reynolds or even Jordan Boys. Of course, he was part of Image Racing, which is run by Erebus. So maybe he could even take it too. So who knows? But I guess time will tell. Matt Stone Racing, they had a test day at the Bend last Friday where Cam Hill had, I think, his second rookie day. And Jack Lebrock also had some laps. However, he was only allocated 10. And it looked like a fairly smooth and happy day for the team. Not much issues, especially compared to when they went to the Bend at March for a test session where they had power steering issues. But it looks like fairly clean this time around. It was actually really beneficial for not only the team but also Cameron Hill, as the next round is in fact at the Bend next weekend. So it was a great opportunity to learn and prepare, especially for, like I said, Cam, who is yet to actually compete in a Supercars round at the Bend. And lastly, Blanchard Racing has announced that they will be running a second Mustang at Sandown and Bathurst for the Enduros this year, with Aaron Love and Jake Kostecki co-driving. This will be Aaron's debut in the main game. Of course, he races for the team in Super 2. And Jake Kostecki will be making a return since being replaced with Declan Fraser at Tickford this year. And it'll be interesting to see how they go. Of course, and Blanchard's been looking at trying to get a second car to run alongside the one they've got now full time. So it'll be a great opportunity. I don't know what happened there. I had a weird stuttering issue then. It'll be a great opportunity for the team to have some experience on what it's like to deal with a two-car team. Of course, they've always been a one-car team, like for forever. And they've just been alongside BJR and then Tickford. And now I think this is the first year second year they're actually properly on their own. So it'll be a great test for them, for the Enduros. And of course, they won't be the only one. That's not the only wild card that was announced. Of course, last week, I'm pretty sure it was last week, DJR announced that they'll be running a wild card for Bathurst, with Simona Di Silvestro making a return to Supercars after leaving since 2019 with Kelly Racing. And Kai Allen will be making his main game debut, co-driving with her. Of course, he races in Super 2. He almost won the Super 3 championship last year, only to miss it, I think, after retiring from the final Super 3 race. He's a great young talent, and I'm very excited to see how he does this year. He has actually had a test day, I think last year. That was his first main game experience with DJR. So not really surprising he's got some sort of deal here with them for this year. But I'll be very curious to see how they both do at Bathurst. They'll be running the 98 Mustang. It's unclear whether they'll have Shell backing or some other sponsor, but very curious to see. And of course, AAA have a wild card with Zane Goddard and Lowndes as well. So it'll be the battle of the wild cards this year. It'll be very curious to see which one ends up on top at the end of the weekend, end of the season. But that's all the news for this week, and I know it's only Tuesday, but I felt like I had to make a pod after hearing about Will Brown. I was like, I instantly had to talk about this because I'm still shocked by that. Very, very unexpected. Let me know who you think will, if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know who you think will be at Erebus next year, whether it'll be Reynolds or Percat or Boys or anyone else you can think of. I'm very excited to see how this leads in the next few weeks. But yeah, so that's all from me in terms of news. If you do want to follow me, feel free to hit that follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, hit that like button and all that jazz. Check out my Instagram. I've got 2 pages, which is my personal one, which is Daniel Leckel 35, and Let's Talk Motorsport, which is dedicated to the pod and videos. So if you ever want to be updated on when I release or announce something, it will be there. So all the links and stuff will be in the description of both Spotify and YouTube. So feel free to click there to check them out. So that's all from me for today. Stay tuned for next week, where I'll probably do a preview for the Bend. So yeah, that's all from me. Bye for now.